And we'll call board to order, St. Croix County Board to order. And we'll have invocation by Pastor Milligan from Living Pathways Ministry. Everyone stand, please.
Let's bow in prayer. Great God, we give you thanks for the opportunity to be here today. Lord, I thank you for these men and women that have responded to serve you in this way. And Lord, it is great to serve a God that shares in the responsibility of this community in the leading and the governance. And Lord, we know that you are a God, one and yet three, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. You are a community. And so, Lord, it is no light thing when we come, Lord, and gather as a community, one community, yet many individuals and interests within. And so, Lord, we need your wisdom and we ask for your guidance, Lord, that we would be good stewards of those that you have entrusted into our care today. And so, Lord, we ask, God, that you, as the God who has come in the flesh into the very details of our lives, that you would be here in the details of this meeting before us. Lord, that through the agenda and through how we carry ourselves, Lord, how we conduct the business, and Lord, even in the discussions at hand, that you would take and move these details into the best possible future for this community, Lord. And so please be here today. We invite you through the power and presence that you would be here among us and help us to lead in the gifts that you've given us. We pray in your great name. Amen.
I'll say the Pledge of Allegiance now.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Cindy, we'll have roll call, please.
Ask for roll call. Roger.
Sorry. Nope.
Somebody's going to be gone. Ron's going to be gone. Pam's going to be gone.
Ron's in training.
And we have two excused. Ron, Supervisor Kiesler and Supervisor Anderson are excused. We'll move on to our consent agenda. We need the approval of the minutes, and our next meeting in November will be November 6th. And remember, that's on a Thursday now, not a Tuesday, because of elections. So I'd have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Supervisor Babbitt and Supervisor Peavy. Second. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? No discussion. We'll vote on the consent agenda. It was approved unanimously. Thank you. At this time, we're open for a public comment. Anything that's not on the agenda today, we're open for public comment. We are open for a public comment at this time. Any public comment? If not, thank you. We'll move on. Presentations and recognitions. Administrator Thompson will take that.
Good morning, board members. We have a couple recognitions this morning. The first is to recognize the Chief Deputy Medical Examiner, Jeff Stacken. Is Jeff here? Yeah, hi Jeff. Why don't you come on up? Jeff is the Chief Deputy and Medical Legal Death Investigator for St. Croix County. Recently, Jeff's supervisor, Patty Schochner, who serves as the county medical examiner, received a call from a grieving family who wanted to compliment Jeff and thank him for all he did for the family. This family member said to Patty that Jeff was very gentle with the family. He didn't rush them as they dealt with their loss. The family was in shock when their family member died, and Jeff helped them through a very difficult time in their life. And they said to Patty that Jeff was made for the position he's in. Patty went on to is Patty here? No. Patty went on to comment that not too often in the medical examiner's office do we hear from family members after a call because it's a very personal issue that they're dealing with, and so oftentimes they don't call back, but in this case the family did, and they shared with Patty their experience. Death is very private and personal and difficult. Patty told me that she's very proud of Jeff and all her deputies. Jeff has been with the department for 20 years in the medical examiner's office, is compassionate, empathetic, and detail orientated. So on behalf of St. Croix County, Jeff, and the St. Croix County Board of Supervisors, we would like to present you this certificate of recognition and thank you for all your hard work. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good job. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jeff. The second recognition is for a group of employees, and it is for our public health department. Several of them are here under the leadership of both Fred Johnson and Deb Lindeman, who is the Director of Public Health for St. Croix County. Recently, and some of you have heard this, the Public Health Accreditation Board, which is a national accreditation board, announced on September 18th that 10 more communities throughout the United States, including the St. Croix County Department of Health and Human Service Public Health, have joined the growing ranks of those reaping the benefits of National Public Health Department accreditation. The decisions bring the number of governmental public health departments now accredited across the country to 54 public health departments, which we are one of. The Public Health Accreditation Board is a nonprofit organization that administers the National Public Health Accreditation Program, which aims to improve and protect the health of the public by advancing the quality and performance of the nation's tribal, state, local, territorial health departments. Public health departments in St. Croix County Public Health Department plays a critical role in protecting and improving the health of our citizens and all of our communities in the county. Across the nation, health departments provide a wide range of services aimed at promoting healthy behaviors, preventing diseases and injuries, ensuring access to safe food, water, clean air, and life-saving immunizations, and preparing for and responding to public health emergencies. To receive accreditation, a health department must undergo a rigorous, and I think Deb and her staff will attest to that, that it is a rigorous. It's not something you just send in for and you get a accreditation. It's nothing like that. They've been working on this, well, Deb can tell you, for well over a year in preparation for this. It required on-site visits from the accreditation staff. I remember when Deb was talking to the Health and Human Services Board about this and asking if certain board members would be present when the site visit took place. And so I think we had representatives from the Health and Human Services Board that took part of this process. It's a multifaceted peer review assessment, a lengthy process to ensure that we meet or exceed very specific standards and measures. The peer review process provides valuable feedback to inform our department of their strengths and areas for improvement so that we can better protect the citizens of St. Croix County. We are one of 6 health departments in the state of Wisconsin that are nationally accredited, and we should all be very proud of this accomplishment, as we are, of our local health department. Please join with me in recognizing the following individuals that are here today, I believe, from the Public Health Department. First of all, I'll again recognize Fred Johnson, the director of the department, along with Deb Lindeman. Why don't you come on up as I call your name? Deb Lindeman serves as the director of the Public Health Officer and was critically important in achieving this accomplishment. Sharon Reiser. Hi, Sharon. Sue Lindberg. Hi, Sue. Come on up. Kathy Fredrickson. Heather Prigge. Ruth Lehman. Hi, Ruth. Diane Demeling. Ed Thurman. And Lori Diaby. And Jessica Lang. Now, are there any other members? Come on up, Jennifer. Anyone else? That is all. At this point, I'll turn it over to Deb to say a few words, and then we'll hand out the certificates. Deb, I didn't tell you I was going to call on you. I didn't tell you, so it's.
I'm always prepared.
You're always prepared.
As public health is, always prepared. But
That's right.
this was a very huge endeavor, and it did take a team effort, and thankfully we do have a great public health team in St. Croix County. So I would like to thank them, and especially Lori Diaby, who was our accreditation coordinator, and Jessica Lang, who helped immensely also with the efforts. And I want to thank Fred, who was very supportive and helped a lot. His wisdom and knowledge was invaluable. And I want to thank the county board members for supporting the effort. I think it was very worthwhile. And we are very proud and pleased to be accredited and to serve the citizens of St. Croix County. So thank you.
And we have certificates. There are several staff members that could not be here today, Deb. I'll just read off their names for the record. Roxanne Croix, Jennifer Hansen. Jennifer's here. Here. Okay. Jay Ann Hay. Teresa Kvam. Tracy Schug-Peterson. Natasha Cardinal. Janine Seifert, Jessica Sturba, Judy Fall, and Lisa Frank. So those were all members of the staff that I'll give these to Deb and pass on our thanks to those as well. Okay. That's it. Thank you, members of the board. We appreciate it.
Thank you for a job well done. Appreciate it. Thank you. I believe Pat Thompson's up again with appointments for.
Yes, thank you. Stay here. I'm going to move number 2 under appointments until after we take up the resolution under old and new business, item number 2.
Okay.
So I will defer the appointments for, until after we take that up. For the Health and Human Services Board citizen appointment, as you recall, we had an opening on the Health and Human Services Board. A citizen member, Leon Barenschott, retired after many years of service. We recognized him at our last county board meeting. We solicited interest from the community to serve. We had approximately 5 citizens express interest. 1 dropped off because of illness, so we interviewed 4 members of the public, and we're in a position, or the county administrator is in a position of forwarding the candidacy of Heather Logelin as a citizen member of the Health and Human Services Board. Heather currently serves as the director of the Foundation and Community Engagement at the River Falls Area Hospital. Heather has received her MBA from the University of St. Thomas with an emphasis in nonprofit management. Heather lives in North Hudson and has 2 children in the Hudson School District. Heather works at the River Falls Area Hospital, involved in primarily the community health and philanthropy. Heather is a volunteer on the board of St. Croix Valley Habitat for Humanity and the Free Clinic of Pierce and St. Croix counties. She also recently completed 6 years of service as a volunteer on the board of the Family Resource Center of St. Croix County. So I would ask for the support of the county board in the appointment of Heather Logelin to serve as citizen member on Health and Human Services Board.
I have a motion to that. Supervisor Babbitt, Supervisor Novotny, second. Any discussion? Yes. Supervisor Babbitt.
As chair of the HHS board, I just wanted to acknowledge the efforts involved in the interviewing process of the very good citizen candidates that were brought forth to replace Leon Barenschott, who on some level is irreplaceable, I think we could agree. Nonetheless, I think Ms. Logelin is a terrific candidate and will serve the HHS board well.
Thank you. Any other discussion? None? No other discussion? We'll vote on this then. Thank you. And that was unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Now we'll move down, because of the number 2, we'll move down to the financial report.
Yes, you have the monthly financials in your board packet. There didn't appear to be any items that needed to be pointed out. Hopefully, if you've had a chance to review them, the finance director is here in case you have any specific questions, either Tabitha or myself, to address. Otherwise, would ask for the support of the financial report for this month.
Pat, on partway down, we're looking at pay for performance on expenses. My first question on that line is, it's listed as 400,000, and I'm curious why we're not including the 140,000 that we carried over from last year, and it should be 540,000.
I'm not sure how that shows up in the fund. there still is a balance in that fund, but
No, we budget actual expenses, what we actually think that we'll use, so therefore we budgeted 400,000, assuming that that's what we would be using in 2014. What I would say is we have not yet done the journal entry, so if you look at the actual year-to-date, that's not accurate. We've been consumed with budget, so now we'll be shifting gears and trying to get the pay performance, the basis, everything have been done, the merits have all gone out, the accounting behind the scenes needs to get caught up. So you will see dollars, we will get that allocated out here in the next month or two.
So where does we see the 140,000
In
that
the
was
general
carried
fund,
over?
unassigned.
The what?
General fund, unassigned fund balance is where the pay performance dollars go. And so what we'll be doing is we're looking as we roll forward to 2015 is if taking on the excess dollars and applying it towards the 2015 budget. And then we are looking at, part of our fund balance policy is actually designating, assigning those dollars as pay performance, so they're earmarked, so they don't roll into the unassigned general fund balance, so that we do keep better, accurate records of that dollar, so it is being spent in accordance of how the plan was originally implemented.
So have we tapped into that 140,000?
Not in 2014.
Okay, just for reference, I would like us to, if we don't use that 140,000, I would like us to do something with that in our 2015 budget.
Apply some of the excess.
And if we're down, if we're down to 650,000 from the 700, perhaps we could subtract that extra 140 from the 650.
Yep, that's under review.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Nelson?
Can we have a better way to track this? Because you're just throwing it back into the fund. I think for what I'm looking for, maybe Supervisor Osnes is looking for, is if there's carryover and you just throw it back into the general fund and all of a sudden it can vanish and then we're at 400. I would prefer, I'm not the financial wizard, that we show how we carry over every year. And it needs to be a line item to say, this is what pay for performance is.
That's what I meant when I said assign. So what we'll do moving forward is actually get a designation, whether it's a fund balance policy or it brings forward for board action. You assign is something I can do, committing is something that takes board action. So we will actually work to get some of these line items better designated.
So we'll have that before the start of 2015 year? It'll be on the line? It'll say 540?
No, what happens is the fund balance is only shown in the audit. So that's where the categorical definitions come into play, where you have assigned, unassigned, committed, restricted, those type of things happen in the audit. And the financial books, everything sits together in a pot of dollars because it's in general fund. So we'll work to better present information to you so you can clearly see it. Again, financial system limitations as well.
Tabitha, with that, and correct me if I'm wrong, the reason why we kept that 140 was going to be designated as expenses related to pay for performance.
Correct, we have our software, we have our e-appraisal software, and it's
And
just
did we pay for that out of that 140?
out of the 2014 it is, in the 2015 budget it is, we moved it to human resources. So the pay performance line is only those payments that are paid to staff to better designate and separate the cost out.
So how do we know, outside of payment to staff, what's being paid and how much it is?
The only things, we're paid to staff and we pay e-appraisal. Those are the only two expenses. Yes, those are the only two things that get paid.
I guess, okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Supervisor Berkey?
This question has come up before, and I'm not sure that we've seen the report in black and white, and it's a question about the costs total that went into the remodels in the administration suite. Is that something that we could look at some detail, perhaps at the next administration meeting and then at the county board?
I believe that information's already been provided, but we can pull that information back up and re-provide it.
Supervisor Nelson?
Now, you said you're going to earmark this 140?
Correct.
Okay. When back in public protection, when we did not use that $20,000 for doing the 911 center merger, you said we couldn't earmark the 20,000 that we saved to put it towards the security at the front. Can we only earmark certain things, or how does that work?
It's all written in our fund balance policy, so we'll bring that back forward again as we look. Part of the 2015 budget and future planning is to bring back the fund balance policy, do some language cleanup, do some education informational updates to you, and develop a plan for the dollars. So I think that'll help answer your question a little better. Is there certain criteria based on the type of fund it is, what type of funding comes in, if it's county dollars, if it's state dollars, if it's federal, it has different restrictions, different levels, and that's where you get into the categorical names of the type of fund balance and carryover dollars. So it really depends on the funding source of the dollars is how we can assign it, restrict it, commit it, those type of things, so.
Any other questions? If not, we will move on then. Thank you, Tabitha. At this time, I believe the administrator asked me to move resolution number 2 up with the financial report. So we'll take resolution to authorize the county administrator to enter into a contract negotiations and finalization of contract with the Horty Evelyn for architectural and engineering services designed and skilled nursing home facility, dementia and mental health crisis unit, and remodel the existing skilled nursing facility into a community-based residential facility with a maximum project budget of $15 million. So I'll turn this over to Administrator Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The resolution that you have before you is the work product of the coming to you from the Health and Human Services Board and also a subcommittee of the Health and Human Services Board made up of Shayla Liebfried, Paulette Anderson, and Deb Rasmussen. As you recall, the Health and Human Services Board created a subcommittee to begin the process of soliciting for proposals for architectural and engineering services to begin planning and design for the new health center. And so the subcommittee went through a pretty grueling process of drafting the RFP, soliciting proposals. We received 9 proposals from architectural and engineering firms. The subcommittee reviewed all those with staff. We narrowed it down to 4 firms that we felt had the most relevant experience in design and construction of a similar type facility. So the subcommittee narrowed that down to 4. We conducted face-to-face interviews with those 4 firms. Shayla Liebfried was the chair of the subcommittee, did a fine job of providing leadership to the group and to the staff. We, in the process of interviewing, narrowed our decision on one firm that we felt best exemplified the philosophy of our existing nursing home and best modeled the type of facility that we would like to see for St. Croix County. That firm is Horty Elving. The subcommittee then made their recommendation to the full Health and Human Services Board at their last meeting. The Health and Human Services Board endorsed the recommendation of the subcommittee, and that is that brings us to today. What you have before you today is a resolution sponsored by the Health and Human Services Board that will authorize the county administrator to negotiate a contract with Horty Elving, the preferred A&E firm, and to begin that process. In doing so, We looked at the financial pro forma, and we are recommending, based on our review of the financials and in discussions with our CPA firm, and I'll let Tabitha address that, but we did run this through them, reviewed the existing financials. We're recommending a budget of approximately 15 million. The architectural and engineering firms that we spoke to all asked for a set budget to begin their work, and so that is what we are recommending as the budget for to begin the planning and design for the health center facility. The resolution before you was also amended at the Health and Human Services Board. I had discussed with the board the creation of an ad hoc health center construction committee, which will oversee the planning and design and construction of the new health center facility. I think this is important to have board involvement along with citizen involvement in this very important process that we're about to embark on. I think the subcommittee that was established completed their task on time and did an excellent job in reviewing the proposals and making a recommendation to HHS and now the full county board of supervisors. So I'd like to thank Shayla and Paulette and Deb Rasmussen for their work on that subcommittee and the full Health and Human Services Board. So, Mr. Chairman, I recommend.
Look for a motion to move this resolution forward.
Thank you.
Supervisor Novotny.
I move to move.
I'm looking for a second. Second from Sheila. Waiting for it. Okay, now the floor is open for discussion. Supervisor Akhtarov.
Yeah, I just have on line 31, Horty Elving figures the project cost is going to range from $50,885,000 and some to $29 million. And now we're only allotting $15 million, which is less than their minimum amount. Can someone explain why?
I will attempt to, and then ask for assistance. But we have to have a starting point. We understand that the architectural firm that we're recommending for selection has put the $15 million at the low end of what they are estimating. But let me emphasize that it is an estimate. We have to have a starting point in terms of a budget. This is not, the $15 million does not commit this county board to that dollar figure. We're going to be going through a very rigorous design and planning stage. At that point, we will have better estimates from the A&E firm. The board at some point, probably in early 2015, will be dealing with a bonding resolution. At that time, the estimates for the project will be locked in. But we feel as a staff and as the subcommittee and Health and Human Services Board that the $15 million estimate is a good starting point in terms of a overall budget for the project moving forward. But I'll defer to any staff or HHS board members if they want to contribute more to the answer to your question. Sandy?
It's kind of like when Ron put it very well at the HHS board, when you go to buy a house, you say you want to spend approximately 15 million, and they show you some that are higher and some that are lower. So it's a starting point. So if we give them, or say it's 20 million, that's where we'll be. But if we give them 15 million, it may come in at 18, it may come in at 16, it may come in at 12. So when we looked at all of the estimates, it's kind of an average of all the 9 architects that presented. Okay?
Riley Preet?
One of the reasons that we went with Horty Albion was also that they said they've worked with a lot of government entities, and one of their reasons that they said they know how to stay within the budget of the county, and they know that it's tax dollars that's being spent to build this, and so they were very aware that there was a budget and they needed to stay within it.
Thank you. Supervisor Ring?
I've got 2 questions. One, the fee, it looks like, is 5.95%. Is that of just the 15? Does that change if the number changes, if our total construction cost changes?
I believe it's a percent of construction, but that's negotiable. Upon completion of or passage of this resolution, assuming it passes, that will be negotiated in terms of their final contract.
Okay. So my second question is similar. So on one hand, so the whereas is just pointing out that Horty Elving is telling us that the total project cost could go higher. I mean, really, that decision rests here, does it not? It is, and what we're saying in this, it is not to exceed 15. If it exceeds 15, wouldn't it come back to this board?
It comes back either way, anyway.
But
But we have to have a starting point and a budget. And so, like Sandy said, if we said our budget was 20 or 25, the architectural engineering firm would design to that. And so we need to have a conservative starting point and try to design to that budget. And then we'll go through a process of making decisions as a ad hoc committee and as a county board, where if we feel certain items need to be added to that budget, then a decision will be made, that we think the bathrooms need to be larger. We think the dining hall needs to be ta-da. And so those kinds of decisions will probably supplement, in most cases, those types of decisions will supplement the budget, but those are decisions that need to be made by the committee.
I understand that, but that's good background, but I just think the decisions that are made along the way would determine whether they designed the $29 million facility. It seems like, as a board, I don't think we should wait until we are at the bond sale to make that. I mean, it seems like there should be communication back. If that's our starting point, and what I would say is if that starting point changes, because here it shows that it could double, and I think that's not appropriate unless we say yes. I mean, and so you're proposing a committee that would have
Correct.
Input into that, but again, I understand that at 15 you set a budget and you design to that budget. And maybe some tough decisions come along and we should, we decide, we have to do something. But I just think what makes me nervous about this is the potential for doubling it, because it's just a very different number and impact.
Speaking of impact, in your packet, you should have a one-page summary that the finance director presented. It's the title of the form is St. Croix County Health Center Facility Analysis, and what we have tried to demonstrate here is the financial impact of a $10 million, $15 million, and $20 million project, what impact that will have on the county's debt service going forward 20 years in terms of debt service. The financial always assumes a contribution or a financial contribution from the health center of $450,000, which is part of the original financial pro forma that was done in February of this year. And then in addition to the health center contribution of $450,000, based on the budget or the construction cost, the tax levy will supplement that in terms of debt service payments going forward. And we've outlined what that additional tax levy debt service will be for 10, 15, and 20. And then we've shown below what impact that has on the budget going forward. So I don't know if you've looked at that, but I thought it was an excellent summary of what we're looking at in terms of financial impact of the project. And it's built on some assumptions. One is 20 years debt service, pretty safe assumption. 3%, which could vary in terms of an interest rate. We have assumed flat equalized value using the current equalized value in terms of growth. We've assumed a flat growth going forward. We hope it's higher, probably will be if Bill Rubin keeps up the good work. That number will continue to help the county's financial situation, but conservatively, we've estimated a flat equalized value going forward in the formula.
Supervisor Peterson.
Would my thinking be correct, Patrick, that the reason for that spread in there on the dollar amount would be that we have a concept, but as we go along and try to plan this, we need that latitude to look at what some of the alternatives are, and as you say, we may or may not be able to do all the package we're envisioning, but if we don't have that spread in there, we're just going to tie our hands and not come out with a decent product, which is what we need to do.
That's correct.
Supervisor Nielsen.
If I can continue on with Judy's thoughts, line 31 refers to a total probable project cost, and it's got a range of 15.8 to 29.9. Whereas on the in the agenda, item number 2 refers to a maximum project budget of $15 million. So if anything, it is confusing and, in my opinion, poorly worded. In support of this resolution, we were given the one-page document, St. Croix County Health Center Facility Analysis. In that document, it's got the statement, based on current forecasted schedule, the net income available for debt service payment is $496,400 per year with no levy support. The proposed facility will never generate net income. It will require money from the public every year it operates, whereas a private facility would not require public money. I believe that this statement is referring to what is more appropriately referred to as gross margin or operating income. This is the amount that is being estimated to be available after operating costs are taken care of. As to the forecasted schedule, I was not given that. I just given this one-page document. I need to see that forecasted schedule. I need to see when it was done, who did it, and specifically I need to know what are the forecasted occupancy rates for both the intensive care, the intermediate care, and the dementia care. Also, the 3% figure, when was that given? Interest rates are going up. I wonder if the 3% is still viable. And I guess in light of these questions, I would like to move that we table this action on this resolution till the November 7th meeting.
So we have a motion on the floor to move this to the November 7th, correct? And I'd have to look for a second for that. See, there's a motion on the floor. Looking.
The November meeting's
On the 6th, yeah, November 6th. Looking for a second for that motion to move this to November 6th meeting. Looking for a motion to move this to November 6th meeting. Without a ring. Second it? Okay. So there's a motion and a second to move this resolution to the November 6th meeting. So now there's discussion on that. No. Supervisor Stolberg.
I too am a little bit confused by the $15 million limit when the range given by the architect that we chose starts at an amount that exceeds that. So I'd like to see that minimum not be 15 million, but pushed up to 16 million. I think I have enough information here to make a decision. When I read this, that for the next 20 years, out of the operations of the facility, and this is what I'm asking to be confirmed, the facility will not only pay for all of its operating costs, but have $450,000 available to reduce debt. And so that after 20 years, that $450,000 is available for other uses, expansion, or it's just available for the county. So is that an accurate assumption that at the end of the 20 years, we've paid for the house, if you will, and now our operating revenue will be available for other uses? So that's the question to finance.
The financial forecast that was done did 5 years. We didn't go out a full 20. But based on the growth, the average growth, it would be available. You are correct. The health center contribution, once the debt is paid off, those dollars would be available then to cover additional operational expenses. But in 20 years, you're going to be reaching end of life on a lot of things. So you're probably going to be reinvesting in the building along the way.
Well, if I remember the design of this building, we're constructing this not for a 20-year scenario, but for perhaps a 50-year scenario.
Correct.
Any other discussion?
So my point is I'm against tabling this for another month, but I would like to see a change to the resolution to have the project maximum come in at 16 million, which is at least within the range of what the architecture firm gave us.
Supervisor Stolberg, I believe we have a motion on the floor, and we have to act on that before we can move forward. Is that correct?
There can be discussion that's relevant to what's really a motion to postpone to certain times, so it has to be relevant to that, so, and I think it was.
It was. What?
It was a second.
What? No.
Oh, I need a second.
Yeah, there was a second to the first motion. Supervisor Peterson.
I cannot support the amendment or the proposal to postpone. I still recall on 2 votes from our constituents that they want us to proceed forward with this nursing home issue, and I feel it's our duty to get this accomplished. We've been tossing this around for 10 years or better, and I think we need to move forward on it.
Supervisor Schottner.
I can't support this either, the motion to postpone, and part of it is due to when we went to bonding this year, we were not able to get the rates until after we started sending out our feelers for bonding, what the actual rate would be, and it actually came in lower than what we were expecting. And to make the demand that we have to talk about the bonding issue prior to the decision of how much we're going to spend on the bonding, and we're trying to put the cart before the horse, and I think that this, just move forward with what's on the table now, so that way we can get back in line and get everything moving would be ideal.
Any other discussion? No other discussion? We do have a motion on the floor at this time to postpone this up to November 6th at our next meeting. And that's what's on the floor at this time. So if there's no further discussion, I'll call for a vote on postponing till November 6th. There were 3 yeses and the rest were noes. That failed. So now we go back into discussion again on the resolution. So Supervisor Schrottner.
I do have a question on, it goes back to the 15 to 29 million that is being proposed. According to what was presented to the Health and Human Services Board on May 5th, it looks like you're putting forward the option to build a new health center and a new assisted living home instead of remodeling, because the cost difference between those two is 9.1 to 12 million predicted versus 14 to 19 million, which would be the difference between option 3 and option 4. So with what the costs are brought forward, are we looking more towards doing option 4?
We're looking at remodeling the existing health center into a 40-bed CBRF unit. The architectural and engineering firm will take that as their directive, but they will, if they're, for whatever reason, they come back and present information that is not a viable option, then then it's back to the drawing board in terms of looking at it. But that's the existing plan to move forward with, and that's what this is based on.
Okay.
Supervisor Nielsen.
Referring again to the forecast schedule, do you, Supervisor Thompson, have the occupancy rates that were used in that forecast?
I would defer to Sandy Hackenmuller, the health center administrator, for that.
It was forecasted at 47 for the facility, the skilled facility, and 36 for the assisted living CBRF. Currently, we're running at an average of 48.9. Dementia care, that unit has been at cost neutral because we're still looking at some of the costs for that.
Nevertheless, to do a forecast, you have to guess what the occupancy was going to be in all 3 segments.
The dementia care unit hasn't been determined if it's going to be a 5-bed or a 10-bed.
I think the proposal is, I'm sorry.
So.
I think the proposal is 10 beds, is it not, for dementia?
Yeah, and we still need to finish some of the information gathering on that dementia unit because it's brand new. It's not anywhere in the state. It's newly developed. So.
I thought that was a proposed 10.
10.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions with that, with the census?
Supervisor Ring.
It's not related to census, but this community-based residential facility, can you explain, is that a state designation? Is that different than?
Licensing? Yes, it's a licensing. It's less than, a skilled nursing facility requires 24 hours licensed staff. A CBRF requires a nurse, 2 hours per resident per week, a decreased amount of licensed nursing. A CBRF requires nursing assistants, and also you can use trained medical assistants to pass medication. A RAC, or a residential assisted community, which is like an apartment complex, requires a kitchenette and a full apartment with like a kitchenette and a bathroom with a shower. And that's why we're looking at the CBRF, because converting our facility, current facility into AL or a rack would cost a lot more money to put in full showers and full bathrooms for each unit. So that's where we're looking at the CBRF licensure.
So is the skilled nursing facility, that's a separate
Yep.
licensure, not rolled in?
Nope.
So the ones we have are the skilled nursing facility?
Correct. Currently, we're a skilled nursing facility, yes.
Okay, and so we'll have two designations?
Yep.
Community-based residential
It'll be a skilled
facility?
nursing facility and a CBRF licensure.
Thanks.
Supervisor Brinkman.
You said that the 10-bed dementia has not been done anywhere in the state. Can you
No, it's new.
elaborate on that?
Yes. The dementia crisis unit is, they have behavior units within the state. Some are done through IMDs, which is mental health. Some are done through CBRF, and some are done through skilled nursing. And we're looking at creating a dementia unit, a dementia crisis unit with a new dementia redesign from the state of Wisconsin. It would be a unit that dealt with difficult behaviors and was set up differently. So we're looking, currently Tabitha and I are looking at different models within the state and how they're funding that and how they're doing their behavior units and paying for that and developing a crisis unit, which there is no such thing as a dementia crisis unit. Chris?
Supervisor Abbott.
Sandy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, based on the research that I've done and presentations that we've had in front of this board as well as HHS, nursing homes, both public and private, do occasionally have residents who, for various reasons, become essentially impossible to control or to monitor in those facilities. They simply don't have the staff trained or the space to do so. And the research that I've done, including direct conversations with nursing homes in this area, indicates that this unit would be welcomed. Part of what has happened historically is that individuals in nursing facilities who have, for, again, some reason or another, become too difficult to maintain in those facilities have occasionally been hospitalized psychiatrically, which we now know, based on a Wisconsin Supreme Court ruling, can no longer be done. And I certainly agree with that. So I don't think there's really much question that this mental health / dementia unit will be utilized. Our discussions on HHS board have indicated too, as well as when you and I have talked, that it's likely that we'll be able to develop contracts with neighboring counties to take individual residents onto a unit like this so that they can be regulated and treated so that they can be safely returned to their home nursing facility, if you will. So speaking both as a professional who works in this community and as HHS board chair, I'm very excited about the opportunity to create this unit, and I have no doubt it will be utilized.
Supervisor Brinkman.
I guess I wasn't done.
Sorry.
So my question is how much is this 10-bed facility built in for the cost into this proposal?
It isn't built into the forecast. We're
It's not.
considering it as being budget as neutral, paying for itself.
Yeah.
Well, it's built into the 15 million, yeah.
How much?
The construction cost.
How much?
I don't know. That's why we need to give the architect a starting point so that they can develop it and then we can answer those questions.
Okay.
Ready? Supervisor Schottner.
Just a question on time frame. If we move forward with this, about when would the architecture firm be ready to present? This is the final, what we think it would cost for everything, and really tie the numbers down. Because that's kind of a question we need for bonding, like when that would actually be addressed.
I'm estimating that would take approximately, I think we had a time schedule in there. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I want to say around 3 months. 3 months, yeah.
Any other, Supervisor Nielsen?
If I may make one comment, my feeling is 29.9 million, which is the amount in the resolution, is not a starting point. And I appreciate Supervisor Babbitt's comments on the feasibility of a dementia care bed unit, and he may very well be right, but I don't feel that this board or the county should commit itself to that kind of money without having some support for those opinions. And Chris obviously knows far more about this than I do, and he may very well be right. I just think that we need more support for this before we make this commitment.
Supervisor Ring, you had something?
Yeah, I feel like I've been a longtime supporter of this project. I want it. I am just hung up on an amount that's double. So we start somewhere. I just think we need some direction. Or, and maybe if it's I think the dementia facility is great, CBR. I mean, I think we've got a really good concept. And it seems to me it's an iterative process. So if we give direction to the architect, to start with that 15 million, at the end of 3 months, then at the end of that process, or whatever the recommendation is of that committee, I think it should probably come back here, because I think it's a $15 million decision where we have the projections is one thing. A $29 million facility is, I think it's quite a different decision with different impacts. So I think however much even you support it, it's what is it that we're supporting? And maybe we come back, and maybe that's a suggestion, is that
It most definitely will come back to this county board in terms of that this is a starting point based on a large range that the architect put forward in their proposal. That number needs to be refined. There needs to be programming, planning that goes into the final design. But it's very important that the architect be given a budget, a number. And so we feel it's within the range that they provided. But to relieve the concern that I hear, this will be coming back to the county board for a final decision on what the final cost will be. But this is where we want to start. This is what we're recommending as a starting point.
So I would like so I understand and I appreciate, we want the expertise that we're paying for, which includes programming, which is not done. There's a lot of decisions. But before, as I understand, we are design, bid, build. So when this is bid, you need final construction plans for that. I would like, before it goes to final design is when I would like, before final design is authorized, and that's plans and specifications which could go out to bid. That's how we're doing it, correct? I think it should come back to the board. Then, not when we're talking about just before we hit the go button on bonding. I think it's before final design. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Supervisor Schottner? Back over here.
I feel like we're getting kind of looping ourselves around again, because many of us have gotten caught on the lines 29 to 31 of this whole proposal. And we're skipping over the fact that if you look at the last further, it completely puts in place the fact that we are going to have a 6 county board supervisor and 3 citizen supervisory committee overseeing this whole thing. And if we think that, I understand the concerns for the financials, but if we're so concerned about the financials that we're going to undermine authority that is, or not even authority, but undermine a board that we're trying to set up to begin with. We need to move forward with this with the understanding that we need to put trust in the supervisors and the citizens that we're asking to watch over the design and construction of the project that's included in this resolution. So there are safeties built into this resolution.
Supervisor Hanson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to clarify, I sat in on the presentations given by Horty Elving and the other firms. The high end of their bid included taking down the existing facility completely and rebuilding it. It's well, it's impossible. We wouldn't allow it. We prefer to use the old building. The old building is in good shape. It's just something that they were recommending. We won't approach that high-end number for another reason, and it has to do with the culture which is grown from the existing staff in our health center, is that we're not looking at, and I won't use the names of the companies, but our director compares it to, we want to be, instead of a high-end luxury compared to a high-end luxury hotel, we want to be compared to a family hotel where people feel comfortable and are wanting to be there. And that type of construction, instead of the stone millwork and everything else, it is going to be putting the money into, instead of aesthetics entirely, programming. And it's going to be purpose-driven toward a culture change. So that 29 million includes taking down the old building, which really isn't part of what was being considered or will be considered, as far as I understand. Will be much closer to the low end of that.
Supervisor Brinkman, you had something?
I guess what I fail to understand here is this whole starting point. Don't you hire an architecture firm to design it, and then it's X number of dollars to put up the structure? Do you want to upgrade to, I mean, just like building a house. They should come to us and say, this is what it costs, and then these are your upgrades. What do you guys want to do with them? This whole resolution just seems weird to me because of the whole, somebody says it's going to cost $15,800 to $29,900, but the $29,900 we know is not going to happen. So we're going to say 15. Well, if it's a starting number, tell them we want to do 10. I mean, to save the taxpayers of this county money. I guess I don't understand all that. So why, when we did the county market building, which is now the service center in Richmond, doesn't common sense just say that you're going to build it as effectively and cost effectively as possible? I fail to understand what this resolution's really saying. And it really has nothing to do with the fact that we've already committed the $200,000. That's what they're going to get paid to do this, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So I don't understand this.
Supervisor Nielsen?
I should probably clarify my previous statements. I understand that today we're not committing the county to spend up to $29.9 million, but by our action today, we're continuing a journey, and we don't know how long that journey is. But we want to be committed to it. We don't want to start in this journey and realize, oh, it's going to be a 50-mile hike, I'm going to turn around. So it really is a commitment. So the figure of $29.9 million really is important, and we should think about this.
Supervisor Babbitt?
I think what Supervisor Peterson said earlier is very important, and at least in the center of my thinking. And not to repeat too much of what Supervisor Peterson said, but we do have two citizen referendums that, in my recollection, were overwhelmingly supportive of moving ahead with the nursing home. This board in 2012 said, yes, we are going to build a new nursing home. I think it's time we get started.
Any other, Supervisor Ark?
My one comment goes, I don't want to postpone this, and I just have a problem with, in this motion, that it states an amount, and one amount is even more than what we are saying the maximum project budget. Can we say tentative maximum budget? I mean, it's one thing to say maximum, and it's another thing to say, well, no, that's not the maximum, and that seems to be what I'm hearing. It might be less, but it might be more. But if we say maximum, we either mean it. I mean, maybe I don't understand how all these legal contracts go. I don't want to postpone this. I want to keep moving on. But I also want to understand that we represent the citizens of this county, and We are just saying that a maximum project budget will be $15 million. And that at the same time, we're also talking about it could go over, so it confuses me.
Supervisor Babbitt.
Just briefly, the way that I interpret these monetary figures that we've been debating is that the resolution is basically doing two things. One, it's acknowledging that Horty Elving has given us this range and saying, okay, the firm that we've chosen thinks that the end cost will be somewhere in this range. That's one item. The second item is that we, as the HHS board and ultimately the county board, are telling them, we want you to come back with your first plan at 15 million. And when we get that architectural design back and we look at that, it may be that what Horty Elving says to us is, we really think this is looking more like 18, or we really think this is more like 14. At which point we go through another process of saying, you know, that makes sense to us, or no, we don't like the way that looks. So for me, these are not necessarily linked. One is a county decision to provide a starting point. The other is an acknowledgement of what the design firm has given us as a range. Speaking for myself at any rate, I don't think there's any way we're going to get close to a $29 million project. I don't think that would get past very many of us here. But we're simply saying that Horty Elving is looking at that range as an initial planning point, but we as a county are saying start at 15, let's see what you've got, and we'll go from there.
Any other discussion? Any other, Supervisor Nielsen?
I hear a lot of I feel, or I believe, or I don't believe. I am not going to commit this county to this big an effort without seeing some facts to support those. So.
Any other discussion?
I'm wondering if we could move with a vote on the resolution, Chair?
So we have a motion on the floor and a second for the resolution number 2. To authorize the county administrator to enter into contract negotiations with a maximum of $15 million. I guess at this time we're ready to vote, so. We have 2 noes, the rest yes, the resolution passed. What? Right. Thank you, everyone. And we're going to move back now to appointments. So we go up to number 2 on appointments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The resolution that was just adopted by the board calls for the appointment of an ad hoc health center construction committee composed of 6 county board supervisors and 3 citizen members to oversee design and construction of the project. This is an ad hoc committee appointed by the county administrator and confirmed by the county board of supervisors. This time I'd like to forward the names of Supervisor Agnes Ring, Supervisor Daniel Hansen, Supervisor David Peterson, Supervisor Judy Ochterhoff, Supervisor Roy Schoberg, and Supervisor Shayla Liebfried as the 6 county board supervisors to serve on the ad hoc health center construction committee. The citizen members that I would like to forward are Scotty Ard, Deb Rasmussen, and Suzanne Van Mealy.
So we have those. I need a motion and a second to that. Motion by Supervisor Osnes, second by Supervisor Nelson. And then, do we have the second up yet? Now the floor is open for discussion. Is there any discussion on these appointees? If there's no discussion, we're ready to vote then. It passes unanimous. Thank you. We're going to move forward now. We'll go down to the annual reports, St. Croix County Economic Development Reports. Bill Rubin is up.
County Board Chair Larson, County Supervisors, County Administrator Thompson, County staff. On your laptops, and now I see on your screen, I prepared I think it's 4 or 5 slides. It's not so much an annual report as it is an update. St. Croix EDC was created in 1993 as a result of a countywide conversation between the county and community members, business leaders, units of government, and so on. And we achieved a designation from the IRS as a private, non-stock, non-profit corporation. And so we function today as an independent economic development arm of St. Croix County. We spent a little time a year ago or so on what a logo should look like. Every good organization should have a logo. And the result of the work of a committee and the board was what you're seeing on that first screen. Any good organization also needs a mission statement, and that'll be the next slide that comes up. And while this is not approved, it's still in draft form. And so what are the key components of that? I would emphasize the public-private portion of that. The ability of St. Croix EDC to provide collaboration. And what do? We expand and diversify the economy of the county through capital investment, the retention and expansion and recruitment of new business and industry in the county. There are a couple of footnotes that are a little bit small to see. At the bottom of that, note of public, St. Croix County is the largest member contributor of our organization, but in the same breath, I will note that towns, villages, and cities, by way of a membership, are also part of our organization. And just like a Chamber of Commerce under the private footnote, banks, utility companies, general contractors, other manufacturing companies, and so on also provide a membership in the same form and fashion that a Chamber of Commerce would provide, would buy into a membership with those organizations. We also provide some level of program income through sponsorships. If somebody wants to sponsor an event, if somebody wants to sponsor a banquet, if somebody wants to put advertising in our newsletters and so on, we charge for that amount, and we also generate a modest amount of interest income. I can also tell you that I'm responsible for a 19-member board of directors because the county's role in our funding is the largest. There is some level of oversight in that regard, and in no order, Supervisors Ring, Schachner, and Osnes are the directors on our board of directors, and their terms coincide then with the annual April elections. In another time, in another place, County Supervisor Berkey, does it go back to the 1990s, I think? Late 1990s, served on our board of directors as well. Another slide shows we've got a board member that at one time was a vice president of marketing and so on for a very large firm. So that's the skill set he would bring to our board. Suggested that in conjunction with a new logo, we also needed a tagline. And in recognition of the high quality of life in the county, the protected qualities of the St. Croix River and other rivers, I might add, the Kinney, the Apple, the Willow, and so on, we came up with a beautiful place to do business. The same director will tell you that there is a unique selling proposition. That's his phrase, unique selling proposition. And so he came up, and we worked together on that. And in the end, we proudly tell our business prospects that the county provides business and industry with an ideal combination of what? An attractive setting, a major metro appeal. We are part of the 16-county Minneapolis, St. Paul, Bloomington, Minnesota, Wisconsin MSA, and then finally the favorable business conditions that are found not only in St. Croix County, not only in the St. Croix Valley, but also in the state of Wisconsin. So we're also responsible for some collaborative activities that'll be on the next slide. And so back in, well, geez, it goes back to the 80s and 90s. A number of communities in St. Croix County had their own supplemental loan fund. So if a business was going to expand, they likely needed bank financing. They likely brought a down payment to the project, but there was also the ability to tap into, perhaps it was a loan for machinery and equipment from community A or B or C. Madison recognized that in doing that, in providing a grant to a town, village, city, and even a county to capitalize a project and in turn to get that money back with a nominal amount of interest, there were some communities, not necessarily in St. Croix County, but there were some communities that weren't doing a good job of getting that money back out into the hands of business a second, a third, a fourth time. And so Madison suggested a region-wide conversation to perhaps consolidate those funds. In its present form, pre-2007, towns, villages, cities, and counties had to operate under what I thought were arduous federal restrictions relative to job creation and so on. So at the end of a 2.5-year community-wide, region-wide conversation, the 32 communities across the 7-county region in west central Wisconsin said, yes, we're going to consolidate those monies. And so as a result of that, there's a more flexible use of a single fund where those funds now have been defederalized and so on. And so as projects come up that are in excess of $25,000, not to exceed $150,000, where that's the loan request coming to the regional loan fund in Eau Claire, a subset of our organization, a loan review committee, would be stewards of that. So we're aligned with what's now called the Regional Business Fund. We also are aligned now with the private entity known as Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, previously known as the Wisconsin Department of Commerce. Mid-year 2011, Commerce transitioned into what is now known as WEDC, and we're aligned with them. On occasion, now it's getting to be about a quarterly project, we do an economic dashboard, not so much just for St. Croix County, but we call it the St. Croix Valley, which splashes over into a couple of counties in Minnesota. And so in the left-hand corner of that slide will be one of the pages of a 4-page document that would provide tables and graphs and so on showing employment levels, unemployment levels. This might not be the best index, but sales tax, registration of new and used vehicles and so on, and it gives the reader at least some example of what the vitality of the St. Croix Valley is on any given quarter then. In the right-hand corner is a front page of a booklet, and it segues into the next topic, Legislative Day in Madison. So in short, growing regions like the St. Croix Valley have a long list of wants and needs, and given the 4-hour distance to Madison, if we're not there at least once a year communicating those wants and needs and boiling it down to a book or a booklet, rest assured that our colleagues in northwest Wisconsin or in La Crosse or in the greater Madison area are doing the same and likely are taking our place in line relative to opportunities then to, say, accelerate projects. So typically our priorities for a legislative day in Madison would revolve around 3 general topics. Economic development, so can we get more tax credits? Can we do this? Can we do that? All things considered under economic development. We also like the idea of transportation-related projects. How can we get, new interchanges? How can we accelerate a concept for a project to a study of a project to construction of a project? A good example of that would be the study that's currently underway, starting at about exit 4 east to Roberts, that's analyzing the addition of another lane in either direction on the interstate. but we also look at, you know, Highway 65, Highway 8 in Polk County and so on. We go as a a 4-county area when we do the Greater St. Croix Valley Day. Last slide kind of gets to the heart of our activities, core activities. So we're heavy into marketing and communications. We do a monthly electronic newsletter that, geez, I'm touching wood, I hope everybody here gets. We also do a quarterly newsletter. At the end of a month, start of a new month, as we prep for our board meetings, we meet the second Tuesday of each month at 5 o'clock. We do articles of interest from across the county. And those, if they've not been sent out for this week, preparing for next week's board meeting, they will soon be going out. And the point there is, our county is a very large one in relative terms, and folks that represent Somerset, River Falls, Baldwin might not understand what's going on in these other communities. So we kind of run our own, I call it clipping service, to get these articles boiled down into maybe it's 15 or 20 of the most important ones that we believe in. And we get them circulated to the county board, to our board, to other economic development organizations. So we're involved in marketing and communications. If there's a business that's located here, we want the business to stay here. So that falls under business retention. If that business is here, we want that business to expand. On occasion, we're involved in the process of recruiting new businesses to the area. We're not the deal makers, but we help connect individuals and businesses to resources in a timely manner. And so those questions might come up about workforce availability, or related to workforce, what are the hourly wages of A, B, and C skill sets? So we're involved in, on some level, a business recruitment. We're not the experts in the next one, but again, we feel like we've got information statistically available on shelf, or we can track down for folks looking to incorporate so that they might insert those statistics into their business plan. And then the last core activity is advocacy. So we go to Madison. Back in the day when the project that's now well underway and the St. Croix River got stalled, December 1996, when the project got stalled, we were among a small handful of citizen groups that said, you know what, even though it got stalled, this region, Minnesota and Wisconsin and the St. Croix Valley, still needs a bridge. And we provided the arguments of a regional transportation corridor, safety, all of those things. And yep, while it took a while, you know, in the end, those were the core arguments that finally took hold. And in the end, that project, a leader did step forward, and then multiple leaders stepped forward. But those are the kinds of things where, you know, in the form of a kind of a business league advocacy, we're happy to be involved and provide some level of discussion back and forth to see that project through. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Again, we are officed in the government center, but we're not a county employee. We run our own little business. We provide our own level of insurance. We provide, at one time it used to be an audit. Now it's moved up because the regulations for an audit have bumped up, or the thresholds, excuse me, so now we do a financial review. We pay for our postage, so we monitor all of that. So we're in the building, we're in the county, we're in the planning and zoning, community development suite. I see county board chair on occasion. I see him at groundbreakings. I see the county administrator. I see department heads. And, you know, our office hours are generally about the same as what you'll find at the government center. So with that, I'm happy to answer questions.
Supervisor Nielsen.
Thank you, Mr. Rubin, for that report. I'm sure I could do some digging and get the answer, but off the top of your head, you probably know the answer. Number of jobs added in St. Croix County over the last year and the last 4 years?
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one. So sledding, as my father used to say, sledding has been a little tough. And again, somebody on my board pointed out that as the economy dipped, economic development has been both challenged and the ability to show results have been challenged equally. So, you know, I've got that information. I didn't bring a file with me. I will get that information to you, but generally, as those unemployment rates come out every month, there's a snapshot of workforce. So you add workforce and the unemployed, or employed and unemployed together, and that will get you a good understanding of kind of what's there. I would say that in, you know, some months, that number contracts, and others, you know, it'll bump up. But there's been slow improvement and so on. But I promise to get you that information.
Supervisor Peterson.
I'd just like to say thank you for the work you do, Mr. Rubin. Every time I drive by that Uline facility and see the activity there, I think of your office. And I also just like to say that I do look forward to those news clippings when they come out. They're really handy to have. Thank you.
I appreciate the comments. You know, we touch a lot of projects, so while we're not going to take credit for the Uline project, but again, at some point along that way, I am willing to bet either the consultant or the city or somebody asked us the question to kind of keep that deal going. And so we're not the deal makers in any form or fashion. Again, we provide those resources to either businesses or individuals and hopefully keep things going in the right direction.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to echo comments by Supervisor Peterson. As Bill noted, I've been a part of that organization since the mid-90s, and it's started as a concept, and a lot of active partners on the county level and in the community to build it up to what it is. What I would like to throw out there is if your town, city, or village is not making an annual contribution to the St. Croix County EDC, to perhaps make a visit at the budget time in your municipality. Troy does contribute, many of the municipalities do, but certainly not all of them. And I think that the benefits certainly outweigh anything else. So I challenge you to do that. Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Bill for his work at St. Croix County. Bill is not an appointed department head of the county, but Bill has always been at the table for strategic planning discussions. Economic development has always been a priority of the board, and so Bill has always been at the table contributing towards the dialogue on strategic planning, and he's always willing to pitch in wherever needed. This year, about an hour before I got on the phone with Moody's Investor Service, I was down in Bill's office just picking his brain before I got on that rating call, and Bill dropped everything and was there for me, and he always has been. So I appreciate the work of Bill and his board and his office. Thanks.
If the clerk is keeping a record of this meeting, I'd like it to reflect that Pat was down a half hour before that conference call. And the noise was stuff being dropped, but we got those questions to Pat on a timely basis and so on. And again, it was congratulations to this board and to the staff for maintaining what I think is a pretty stellar bond rating from Moody's. So it works both ways.
Thank you, Bill, for a good report. We appreciate it. Now we'll move on to another report from the Register of Deeds 2013 Annual Report. Beth Papps.
Thank you, Supervisor Larson and County Board. You all do have your paper report. It was in your agenda packet, so I'm kind of going to give you more of an overview of the office, kind of things that, you know, might not be down on the paper. The Register of Deeds office is a non-levy office. The duties that we perform in the office, they were in the inception of the 1849 statutes. That's when the office kind of was created and implemented. In the statutes, it read that the Register of Deeds shall have the custody of and shall safely keep and preserve all books, records, deeds, maps, and paper deposited or kept in his office. He shall also record or cause to be recorded correctly and in plain and distinct handwriting in suitable books to be provided and kept in his office all deeds, mortgages, maps, instruments, and writings authorized by law to be recorded in his office and left with him for that purpose, and shall perform all other duties authorized by law. So what we've been doing has been happening for a very long time. Then in 1858, then the legislature expanded, and the vital records, those births, deaths, and marriage records, became part of what we were had the duty to perform and to record and file in our office. So we've been doing the vital records for a very long time also. So about 99.9% of what we do in that office is a mandatory requirement. Those duties that we do, they haven't changed a lot over time. but how we do them and the dynamics behind that has changed quite significantly. For the vital records, things that you noticed in 2013 were changes in voter restrictions. The voter ID kind of was put into effect, abandoned, now put into effect again. Voter ID requires a birth record to prove your identity, so we've had some additional requests in order for people to get a proper ID to vote. Real ID put into effect by the Department of Transportation, the DMV actually. When you go to get your driver's license, you have to prove your identity. For you guys out there, your birth certificate seems to get you by. You don't seem to have too many name changes in your past. For us gals out there, if we've been married, if we've had a spouse passed away, if there's a divorce, there seems to be this trail of records. Some of us just have a couple. Some of us have many that we need to follow that path to prove who you are today and get that real ID so you can fly in any federally regulated aircraft or cross our borders. Some of the other things that we've had happen, if you're in the parking lot yesterday, we had some same-sex marriage law that's into effect that will change how we index things. Our old system kind of is that bride-groom little field, so we need to make some adaptations to handle that so we can serve our citizens better and find those records more easily. Big thing for vital records in 2013 was the death record process was fully made electronic, that carrying around that paper record your funeral director created, carried to the hospital, got some doctor signatures and the death certificate information filled out. Funeral director picked it up, brought it back to us. That's all electronic now. The whole process is electronic. Even how we get it to the state, we approve it. Everything was made electronic for death records in 2013. Real estate records, some of the things for 2013 is in 2013, about 28% of our records were recorded electronically. They came via the internet to our office. We processed them, shipped them back electronically. Very nice savings for the county. There's no postage involved. We don't have to spend staff time scanning those records. Wonderful benefit to the citizens out there and those that submit the documents to us. If there's a problem with a document, we will kick it back, usually within an hour, sometimes even 15 minutes. It's back in our queue and we're processing it. Great service to the citizens out there to get their records on file on a timely basis. Great service to the businesses and that we work with, those attorneys, title companies, banks out there. Their records get processed in a much better timely fashion. So that was quite a big thing. In 2013, we recorded the first transportation project plat electronically. Big, huge plats, usually about 22 by 30 inches, that come into our any office. Anytime you see one of those roundabouts, the bridge project, any major project where the DOT or municipality needs to purchase parcels from the residents in order to make that project happen, those are coming electronically now, which saves us some storage space and again gets the data on file in a much better process. Other 2013 significant items are, I know you've heard from the courts before on how we have self-litigants out there. People are kind of doing their own court cases by themselves. We have a big, huge increase in the number of self-searchers out there. People, the younger generation, they want to find information by themselves. They want to search online, get their information. Same with real estate. They come into the office. They want to find the data on themselves. They want to borrow money from their parents, create their own mortgages. They want to search the history of their property by themselves. So we're trying to adjust and adapt to provide great customer service to those people, helping them access the records, helping them find the resources they need to make sure that the documents they create are in legal format so that we can record them for them. We continue to do a lot of Social Security number redaction in our office. In 2006, it became that Social Security numbers could no longer be recorded in the office, and so we're trying to remove those as they're showing on the internet, so that's a huge project for us. We viewed about 400,000 of them in 2013, so that was quite a big challenge. We've also indexed about 28,000 back documents, older documents, to get them onto the internet so those people can find them in a little bit easier manner, and it also helps with those 60-year searches, ensuring that mortgages take place. Things are done on a timely basis. We put some free indexing information onto our website, so people can just sign on to the county website, the ROD site, and access their information for free. We've had property fraud alert, which allows our residents to sign up for this alert program so that if their name shows up in my records, it gives them an alert immediately, helps them identify possible fraud or know that their transactions are being recorded in a nice, timely basis. We're always working in the Register of Deeds office to strengthen the integration between our departments. One of the things that I led the task force in was creating this little land information online card. It has a little QR code on the corner so those people with smartphones can scan the QR code, takes it right to the county land information website where they can access maps, tax information, and have a link to the Register of Deeds information too. You can pick up one of these cards at my office, Land Information Office, or the Treasurer's Office. We're all working together on that. We're also doing some integration. I'm working with Ellen's Community Development Department on some software that's going to integrate my department with her department, the property analyst function, so that we have less double keying of information, stuff that my staff keys and Ellen's staff keys. Hopefully some of that's going to be a little bit more electronic. We're working on it. It's not quite running at the level that we want it to yet, but we'll continue to work with our software vendor on that one. The Register of Deeds office, we're kind of quiet down there. I don't come up here and see you guys very often. We try to kind of maintain a little low profile down there. But we are important. The ownership rights and the claims of property constitute one of the chief forms of wealth in the American society. It's the American dream to own property and the businesses that support our families. Our office is able to tell that who, what, and when about the property. The function is extremely important. Our local government property tax is based on those documents that come into my office and then flow over to the tax information. We file the vital records for our citizens. They span the lives of our people from birth, death, land establishes their title and property ownership. So the Register of Deeds office, we tell the whole story of what people are, who, what, why, and when for themselves, their personal identity, and their property. I just want to thank my staff. We've had a couple of changes in 2013. I had my staff in here a month ago when we had our 1 millionth document recorded in 2014. So I want to thank my staff, Sandy Hansen, Amy Sabelko, Rachel Tadell, Kristen Gramberg. They do a wonderful job for me again. They are the people that when you're calling or stopping by, you see them quite often. Sometimes people stop by to see me. I'm not there. My staff is certainly able to help you guys. I also want to thank the departments that I work with closely, Tammy Funk and Colleen Crone in the HR department, Tabitha and the entire finance department. Those guys do a wonderful job for me, answer all my questions. In the IT department, we would certainly be lost without Mary Vadness and Annette Massey. They seem to keep all those computers and peripherals and the programs that we have running at top speed, so we don't have any downtime on those. Jim Ellsbury in the facilities department, they are a great help to me. Got new carpet, it's beautiful, please stop by and see it. Cindy Campbell and the entire county clerk's office, we work closely with them a lot. Again, we have a lot of similar tasks, those marriage records, things like that. And then Scott Cox and Elizabeth Roll in Corporation Counsel, they're constantly answering any legal questions that I have, assisting us in continuing to serve the citizens the best that we can. Of course, Pat Thompson, our administrator, he kind of is the head guy up there that I don't talk to very often, but when I need to, he's always there. And of course, you guys as the county board, my community development department, the admin committee for supporting our department. Lastly, I'm an elected official, so I'm here for the citizens. It's definitely a privilege to serve, and my thanks to the voters who keep me in office and let me stand up here and give you a report. Does anybody have any questions? Again, please stop by my office at any time. I'm glad to help you.
Any questions for Beth? Supervisor Berkey.
Actually, a comment. I wanted to commend Beth for giving a presentation at the recent Wisconsin Counties Association meeting. I think in order to give a presentation there, you have to be in the know, and I wanted to thank you for your excellence.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No questions? Thank you, Beth. Really appreciate your report. We'll move on to Community Development Department Annual Report. Ellen Denzer.
Good morning. I know you also, as Beth mentioned, you have my annual report in your packet, your online packet. And so what I'll be doing is giving you some highlights from that document. First of all, our department has a myriad of responsibilities and divisions, but we all work very closely together. And we also, more so perhaps, or maybe less so, than other departments, we have a lot of things that dictate our work program and what we do. As I noted in our program summary, we work under the direction of the County Comprehensive Plan, which is adopted by this board. We work under the direction of the County Land Information Plan, again adopted by this board. We work under the direction of the statutes when it comes to real property description. We work under the direction of the county land use ordinances, all adopted by this board. Our Natural Resources Management Plan is again adopted by this board and helps us decide what direction and what our priorities are for land and water conservation. Recycling, we have a solid waste management plan, but that one is woefully out of date, so we generally work directly under the statutes and what is our responsibilities there as a responsible unit. And with parks, we work under the direction of our outdoor recreation plan, again adopted by this board. So what we do is we try to fulfill our mission, our goals, our objectives, and everything that has been given to us by this board through that variety of plans and documents. We work very closely together. Our mission is actually written by our staff as a group and then refined by a select group of staff who volunteered to do that. And what we try to do is look at how we all interact together to protect our natural resources, balance the use of our natural resources and the use of our land, and also protect the quality of life for our current and future generations. So that's kind of an overview of what we're doing and why we have the different divisions, but we work so closely together. And I can give great examples of that, but I'll just move on to our highlights. This is a 2013 highlight annual report. There'll be a few things I'll touch on that you guys know a great deal about as far as 2014 and everything that you've seen in the past few months. But I think it always is good to look back and see how we get there and why we bring these things forward and what we're up to. So we had some turnover in our department this year, but a lot of retirements, but we think that we've hired some fantastic people to replace them, some excited people with lots of new ideas and enthusiasm. We started those negotiations on the Loop Trail, which again is an example of something that came to fruition this year and was brought to this county board, but we started that in 2013. We encourage our staff members to do a lot of training and to get involved throughout the county in a variety of efforts, including our results-only work environment, our row champions, our lean facilitators, people on our wellness committee, that kind of thing. So we have quite a bit of variety of staff who really want to be involved countywide in efforts and activities. As far as going into some of our more specific programs, the St. Croix River Crossing Mitigation Funds and that whole effort under the two different memorandums of understanding are consuming a lot of our time, and they're dictating a lot of what we do, but it's a very important project. We have a time frame that we work within of 5 years. We're already about 2 years into that time frame. And so we're trying to continue moving forward on our growth management activities. In 2013, we got a lot of those off the ground, and now in 2014, they're coming to fruition. We developed a citizen participation plan and evaluation criteria for our activities. We did an inventory of all kinds of grants that are available, because part of our objective with these funds, as directed by the memorandums of understanding, is to try to stretch those funds as far as possible. To take that money that was given to us by the state of Minnesota and take and double that if possible, and get even more done and even more accomplished for our county and our citizens. We've also did a historic review of all projects that have been done on the St. Croix River to find out what's been done and what should we still be doing. We had application forms on a complete web page that we developed so that people could provide input and ideas for projects to go forward. We developed a timeline for the various projects, which is in fluctuation. I'll go forward with that. And we also started out on a variety of real specific projects, which I'll talk about as I go along. So public, other activities that are pretty, I'm trying to hit the highlights, is we started our Shoreland Overlay District rewrite. That was very much necessary, and thank you to the County Board of Supervisors for this past March adopting that overlay district rewrite. But in 2013, we spent a great deal of the year getting public information and feedback. We held a series of public meetings, tried to really get people out by having them in different locations all around the county. Also having them morning, afternoon, and evening so that people would have plenty of opportunity to participate. We thought it was a very good process, and we feel like we're going to continue to do that as we move forward with our other updates that we're required to do. I'm going to jump down a little bit and talk, as you all know, we submitted back in 2013 our letter of interest for the Wisconsin DOT TAP grant, Transportation Alternatives Program, and we've since been awarded that grant and now are moving forward with RFP and timeline of activities on that. So it's a very complicated project. Turns out when you get a federal grant like that, there's an awful lot of paperwork required and a lot of rules. But we've already sent staff to training. We're working closely with the Highway Department, and we'll be moving forward on that as soon as we possibly can. Another item we did that was kind of a big deal this past year was we updated the Gateway to Western Wisconsin map, and I know that I've provided this, for instance, and your orientation, but if anybody wants additional copies, we'd be happy to provide them. A couple highlights of the map that I'd just like to point out is we completely revamped it, added new pictures, changed it. It hadn't been done for about 15 years. And we also added QR codes to get people to all the new websites that are out there so that it would be more modern and probably more friendly to today's smartphone user and that kind of thing. Internally, we added a lot of pictures and changed the format quite a bit to make it much more interesting. So if anyone wants copies of that or wants to share them with any of their constituents, we always have them down in our office, and I encourage you to stop and get them. We have them all throughout the county at Chamber of Commerce and Cindy's office in a variety of locations. But it was a pretty big project that involved a variety of my staff, and I think I'm pretty proud of how they did. It was a great job. Some information in real property projects. We began working on our new local government model. That's an additional piece of software we purchased from through our ArcGIS and ESRI program. The key to that is it allows us to do a whole lot of new things, and you guys have seen a couple of those when it came to some interactive maps, people able to click on things and find out more information as we did our zoning ordinance update. But it also allowed us to do a lot of new things, for instance, with the Sheriff's Department to support crime mapping, and also the Public Health Department to support drinking water mapping. So we take our services out and we try to work with every other county department and also local government. Some other things like it mentions here, we created that web version of this same map so that people can click on it and find a lot of good information. We started an inventory of the St. Croix River shoreline, and we've started doing more implementation of electronic assessment data from our local clerks, which has made a big difference as far as data entry and accuracy. Some other highlights I haven't read on your report. In January of 2013, the inventory of all of our POUT systems, our private on-site wastewater treatment or sewers, was completed, and that is a really big accomplishment. We have, as it says in there, about almost 15,000 POUTs in the county, and all of those are now in our database system. All of them are now tracked online, and our information is available to the public. The same with using that inventory allows us now to keep up to date and monitor. Every one of you, if you live in the country, should have been getting one of our postcards that tells you you need to get your system pumped. You need to make sure that you turn that into us. We have to send out about 10,000 maintenance notices every year because it does take a little while. Even though that's only a third of the systems, there's a lot of repeat and overlap. So we do that in order to help keep our water quality clean. It's part of our mission. We also did a lot of work, our staff did, making sure that they went back and identified those old systems that probably haven't been touched in 40, 50 years. And we've got all of those into the database also. So we're pretty proud of that. Another part is our actual sanitary permits once it was issued, not just the tracking database. And we've been working very hard to get all those sanitary permits in so that that information on exactly what type of system is out there is available. As I said in here, we've got 26 years of records now into the system. And that's quite an accomplishment also. We have 2 scanning stations in our office, and we have staff, a whole variety of them, that every time they have a few free minutes, they sit down and they scan and scan. And it's amazing what you can accomplish when you just keep at it and keep at it and keep at it. Couple other things, I'm going to jump ahead here. We've got some of our statistics and numbers. Things have been picking up a little bit, but as Bill mentioned earlier, it's still slow. We definitely have seen an increase in our sanitary permits, but a lot of those are re-inspections on foreclosed properties. So there hasn't been a lot of development yet, but we're hoping. And we've had some people who are doing a little speculating. We've had about 123 lots created. A lot of that is probably related to family members and that kind of thing, which we always get, but we feel like there is definitely a little uptick, but it's slow. So, turning to the next page, or you guys following along, resource management. We have been involved for the last 2 years in a new project called the Producer-Led Initiative. It's a very extensive and ambitious project. 4 counties working together to educate producers, ag producers, to educate their neighbors and work together. There are 4 different watersheds targeted in each of the counties. They cross over. We hired, a coordinator's been hired through UW Extension. Grants have been applied for. That $200,000 grant is only one of several. We've also received a McKnight Foundation grant, and that money is used to do training, education, and outreach in order to try to improve the producer's understanding of the need for best management practices in terms of erosion, sediment, application, and everything else to try to increase our water quality, reduce phosphorus, reduce soil erosion, reduce stormwater runoff. It's also very closely tied in with the St. Croix Basin team, which we work with very well. Some other highlights, awarded a nutrient management planning education grant for $5,000. That's a 2-year project. We did education this year, and as you'll note further down, we did 18 participants, in 2013 for about 3,200 acres of nutrient management planning, and we'll be doing another education program this winter. Best time of year to help the farmers. Animal waste file permits, we've instituted review of permits in order to try to generate more contact with farmers, go out and talk to them, and that's worked very well. This year our numbers are up quite a bit in terms of working with farmers who are abandoning old manure storage facilities, abandoning wells, and working to improve their facilities out there. So going out and reviewing those files and talking with farmers has really made a difference. Education efforts. Some significant ones have been going on. Our workshop on the water, hosting the regional meeting. Farm City Day has, as usual, has extensive numbers at about 4,000 people there this year. I think that was the right number. Is that right? Or is it 2,000? 24, that's where I got the 2 and the 4, okay. And we participate with UW Extension that leads that. We have a water action volunteer training that we do semi-annually, Conservation Day speaking contest, which you heard our speaker this year, ecology workshops, booths at Earth Day. We participate in a couple different conferences. And moving forward, we've got some exciting news for us. Our groundwater modeling, that we have a very large groundwater model. We've been asked to come and present that to every 5th grader in Hudson School District. So it's a real opportunity for education, and our environmental specialists and education environmental specialists. Alicia does a fantastic job. She works really well with the kids. Recycling, again, we've had a very good year. We changed a few things around and have seen a significant increase in our hazardous waste collection. We went to a 2-day event in 2013, and we conducted that again in 2014. We've always had 2-day events, but we turned it to a Friday, Saturday, and we had a significant increase in people who don't usually come on Saturdays, and we're so thankful that we moved it to a Friday event. A lot of people in the spring and summer are going to their cabins. And we just found that people were like, hey, our weekends are full. Having a Friday afternoon event made a big difference. So we're going to continue that and promote it more. 2013 was the first year of our new special event recycling bins. If anybody's seen those at any of your community festivals or the county fair, they're the clear bins with plastic bags and a blue top. St. Croix County with several grants from local communities and mostly from local agencies like Excel Energy, was able to purchase, I believe it was 20-some grants or 20-some bins, and we all checked those out free of charge except for the cost of the plastic bags, the clear plastic bags. And then the community then has those available, all those recyclables, and usually there's a little bit of money there. We give them the first 20 plastic bags for free, and then after that we have just a refill cost. So it's pretty effective, and we think it's working really well. We're really pleased. There were 175 reservations in just the first year. Let's see, some other highlights with parks. This year, or 2013, excuse me, we built a new shelter at the beach at Homestead, and we put in a demonstration rain garden, which we think will be a very good, very educational effort. We like doing those kind of things, getting the word out. For the first time, we held a run at Glen Hills Park called Terra in the Glen. It was done with a lot of volunteer effort and assistance from our park staff, and it raised $5,600, which was donated to the Glenwood City School District. And this year's promises to be even better. I know Bob Heisey has strongly encouraged anybody, sign up, participate, come on over and watch. It's kind of Halloween theme with people dressed in costumes and some scary events along the trail, some great scenic things that help put you in the mood. So it's a very positive event. Our bookworm trail got off the ground in 2013, developed the process, the concept, contacted people regarding funding and assistance with constructing those stations, and then now this year they have been constructed for the most part, and we've really seen a lot of success there. We have one more station to build yet in 2013, or more likely 2014. We continue to raise weevils at Perch Lake. This is a grant-funded project in which we work with nonprofits and volunteers who come out and assist. This is to help eradicate Eurasian water milfoil, and it's actually working very well as a demonstration project. I think it's in its third year in 2014. It's been very successful. We also developed Nature's Playground at Glen Hills, so when you're out there next time for the picnic, make sure you check that out. What it is something that's becoming very popular in the United States, to use natural products, natural things, set them up and help kids enjoy nature and not so much preformed and pre-planned, and just have more free-willing, use your imagination kind of activities. So it's been very exciting. We participated in the wellness program, which we do every year through our park staff. There was a walk-run held on the Wildwood Trail, plus there was also efforts made by Bob Heisey to help. He's, as part of the team, he's very good about sending out tips and working well to promote wellness and walking and running. It's one of his passions, and he teaches classes, and so he brings that energy and enthusiasm to the wellness team, and we appreciate that. We also provided park passes to all fifth graders in St. Croix County in an effort to promote our county park system, one-day passes, and we think that was a really good project and get the word out. We definitely saw, we can't directly correlate it, but we had an increase in revenues and attendance at both Homestead and at Glen Hills this year, and we think that that's at least partly attributable to trying to get more people there, either through the Terra in the Glen run, our new Bookworm Trail, our Nature's Playground, and also getting those park passes out, kids. So we continue to provide our ordinance and stormwater reviews to towns. This year, as you know, one of our big projects was helping the town of Troy, going through their ordinance. Last year, we helped, in 2013, we worked with the town of Forest. It's one of the most important things we do is provide assistance. I'll jump ahead. Our budgets are, for the most part, on track. Our grants, and I've mentioned this before, but sometimes it may seem like, how come we don't spend the money we have? Well, the way it works is if we anticipate larger grants than we actually get, we reduce our spending to match. And so that's why sometimes there's a drop. And I think if you have any specific questions on that, I can touch on it. But goals and objectives, as you know, going forward for 2014, I'll just highlight a few of them are still underway, because a lot of them have been completed. We completed the comprehensive revision as a board. You would, in September adopted the new town zoning maps, and we are still moving forward with that in terms of certification from the state of Wisconsin. We will be coming back to you with a few more changes the state has required. Even though we did have prior review by the state, they found a few things they don't like. So we'll be back here probably in December or January with some amendments. The St. Croix River Crossing mitigation projects are going well. We have had the LiDAR flight that was flown, and we've already gotten our trial data or our test data. Final data should be coming here in October, November. And again, we'll be utilizing that and beginning implementation, plus offering a variety of products for those communities that don't want the whole data set. It is a terabyte of data. And so it's a lot of information, and you need some sophisticated analysis tools to analyze it. But we'll be providing that on our website. We had contracted with the University of Wisconsin Extension Center for Community and Economic Development in Madison to do an economic impact analysis of our new bridge, and that analysis is coming to an end. We've had several interim reports throughout the summer and fall, and we'll be seeing a final report and probably bringing that to this county board in the next couple of months also. We also, in conjunction with that, contracted with an individual from Stillwater, who is a former Minnesota State demographer, to do population adjustment projections, analysis, review, use all those terms, regarding the population projections that might be, how they might be impacted by the new Stillwater Bridge, and that will also be presented and finalized in the next coming months and presented to this board. Let's see. Let's jump ahead. We, as you know, we finalized in the last month or so the agreements with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation to operate and maintain the new St. Croix River Crossing Loop Trail. And as we go forward in the next year, this year we didn't end up doing as much as we thought we would. Next year in 2015, we'll hopefully be meeting with DOT and talking about details and working with the town of St. Joe to make sure that the design that the DOT will do and will finalize, but that we have input on it and have our ideas brought forward and hopefully come up with a really high quality product that everyone's excited about. And I'm pretty sure we will, because we got a lot of citizens who are excited and they want to be involved too. And we hope they have lots of opportunity. We are continuing to pursue joint bluff line mitigation projects. That's the acquisition of bluff line that the state of Minnesota, as part of the memorandums of understanding, have given us funding to acquire. We'll be going forward with grant applications for those once there's a decision made. This afternoon, our committee, Community Development Committee, will be out touring some of those sites. They've authorized us to go forward with appraisals on those, and this board will be eventually making decisions on where we go and how we spend that money and what kind of grants we apply for and how we stretch that money and how much we accomplish. We've also continued to participate with the Highway 64 Stormwater Wastewater Coalition. This is a very important initiative under the Memorandums of Understanding to look at stormwater wastewater at a regional level, try to come up with regional planning for those, and a cooperative, consistent approach. And the county, as the entity that administers a lot of the regulations for the towns, has tried to be very, very there at the table, but yet also understanding that those local communities are the ones who are the driving force behind that. We want to be supportive, participative, and work together with them. So those are a few of the highlights. On the last page, I would also just mention a couple other important things. We've continued to expand and pursue additional funding and additional activities for best management practices. For instance, we applied for a National Fish and Wildlife Foundation grant of about $100,000, which we're hopeful we will be getting. It's one I hope to bring forward in the next few weeks. We have continued to work more aggressively with local agricultural producers as far as phosphorus reduction, best management practices, and other efforts. This year, this spring, this June, was one of the wettest on record. And so it definitely had a strong impact on our agricultural producers, had them thinking pretty hard about conservation practices that might help them see less problems in future years. And we've also tried to hold education efforts. We had a really great Soil Health Day, Conservation Soil Health Day this past month, and we hope to hold another one. So we're trying to move forward a little more aggressively on those. We've definitely seen some things like a lot of land go out of Conservation Reserve Program, CRP. In the last few years, we've seen a reversal of some of our conservation efforts that have taken years to get in place, but we think now it's coming around full circle. And that's reflected in our funding for next year, and that we have an increase of about $30,000 that we've received from the state for conservation practices, because we have farmers signed up already who want to move forward with them. We also moved forward in 2013 or 2014 to provide a part-time contract employee to do invasive species education, which is also part of our land management, land and water resources plan. And that has been very, very positive. The individuals developed a web page, done presentation and demonstration events around the county, and we think that we're doing a good job of getting the word out and trying to bring that information available to the public. And even with the online mapping, encouraging the public to let us know where invasive species sites are, so as we can start targeting those and seeing if we can't get some support at the citizen level. So that's a real high overview. I've skipped a lot of bullets. There's a lot of things that go on in our department, but I don't want to take too much time. I would just point to our last graph, our last picture on the last page. Caution, water on road during rain. Seems kind of obvious, but sometimes that's what we're all about, warning people what they already know in their hearts and their guts, but we still have to be the ones to point out the obvious. So, questions? Yes.
Supervisor Nielsen.
Thank you, Mrs. Denzer. I do use county parks, and it has been my experience that they are always well-maintained and always clean, and I really do enjoy them. I'd like to relate a little story concerning my experience with 1-pound Coleman propane cylinders. And I've accumulated a few of those, empty ones, and I called the county, well, I called the city first, what to do with those. They are a hazardous waste. They can be refilled, but I wouldn't recommend it. There's a federal law against it, and it's up to 10 years in prison and $500,000 fine if you refill these. But the city had no idea. I called the county and talked to the recycling people, and they gave me some numbers to call. None of them took those. I called my refuse hauler, and they said they do not accept them. I called my recycler. They do not accept them. Nobody accepted them.
Okay.
And I know what's going on. I know that people are throwing them in their garbage, and the refuse hauler is taking them and turning their back and just putting them in the landfill. I don't know what the life is of those in the ground, but I would guess probably 500 years. Yeah. I did find somebody that will accept those. There's an individual that runs a recycling out of a steel container across from Fleet Farm. And the county doesn't have him on their list. Okay. And I don't know his name. He does keep pretty regular hours, but they're not full-time hours. If you know where the laundromat is and the car wash across from Fleet Farm, just on the north side of that property, if you can catch him there, maybe you can get a phone number, get his hours, and put him on the website.
I will do that. Thank you.
Sure.
We're always trying to update that, and any other items like that that anyone can give us, we would greatly appreciate them. We did hold our first ever mattress recycling event this past weekend. Last weekend, if anybody happened to catch that, no? Well, we had 46 mattresses recycled, which actually is a pretty good number. And next year, we're going to try to change it a little bit, perhaps move the date to about the time and do it in conjunction with Pierce County, and do it about the time people move out of their apartments in River Falls when college gets done. So we might get a little better turnout. It was held in River Falls on the St. Croix County side because it was done in conjunction with the Sears store. So. All right.
Any other questions for Ellen? Not. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the St. Croix County Fair Association annual report. Gail Meyer. We're gonna I want to hope this will.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as Chairman Larson said, my name is Gail Meyer, and I'm currently president of the St. Croix County Fair Association. You two as well, I believe, have our information, our official report in your agenda packet. And I'm going to kind of deviate from that a little bit and just give you some
information that's either not in there or things that I think you should know. But first of all, I would like to mention that just recently we had a past Fair Board president and director from the Fair Board pass away, and his name was Rudy Erickson. And for those that you may not know, Rudy was just a wonderful asset to the fair over many, many years. I attended his visitation last night, and his little memorial had so many affiliations with different agricultural and livestock committees and things like that. It's really humbling to know such a wonderful person. So I just thought I would share that with you. So how many of you here did make it to the county fair this year? Just, oh, wonderful. I know I see a few familiar faces. I hope you really did enjoy the experience, and I'm going to be happy to hear any comments or concerns that you may have. So I know many of you were aware of the big race that was held in the cities this last weekend, that big marathon. But have you heard about the race between the lettuce and the tomato? No? Well, the lettuce was ahead and the tomato was trying to catch up. Now, but really, isn't that what a lot of the departments that we work with here in the county and everywhere else, isn't that a lot of what it is? But as for the fair, I'd like to share a little bit about our lettuce and tomato. First of all, the 2014 fair was a huge success, and that was mostly in part due to the beautiful weather that we had. Attendance was up, and we based that on our parking fees. So we're figuring we probably had about 30,000 people there between the exhibitors and the spectators as well. All in all, it made for a wonderful 5-day event. Just the other day, I received this testimonial from a family in New Richmond. They said, this was the first time that we have attended the St. Croix County Fair. Joey was so excited to experience his first Ferris wheel ride and also try his hand at milking a goat. Heidi and Holly got a great buy on a collection of books, and that was from the Hildebrandt family in New Richmond. And really, that's what the fair is all about. As far as exhibitors to the 2014 fair, our junior fair had 5,775 entries and with over 600 exhibitors. Premiums in that category totaled $9,534. The top 3 money-making departments were dairy cattle, photography, and cultural arts. We had 146 open class exhibitors who entered 3,269 items, with ribbon premiums totaling $3,598. Draft horses, antiques, and cultural arts were the top 3 open class departments. In the senior citizens, there were 140 exhibits entered by 20 people. Excuse me. Premiums of $156 were paid in the top 3 categories of knitting, crocheting, cultural arts, and home furnishings. Entries were down a bit this year, probably due to the rainy spring, but we found that that was the same for many county fairs in the state as well. Some highlights, in 2014, we did implement an online program to register entries for our junior fair open class and senior citizens. It worked fairly well for the very first time, but next year, the information is going to be more readily and early available. And we're also going to offer a paper entry version, as we learned that not everyone either has computers or has access to them. So everyone will have the opportunity next year to exhibit at the fair. In the spring, we will also be printing a new 2-year fair book. So we will be looking for themes for those next 2 years, and that should be available around the 1st of April. The dates for the 2015 fair are July 15th through the 20th, And if you're interested and want to pre-plan 2016, the dates are July 21st through the 24th. Now, you do recall that we are a free fair and we do not charge exhibit or admission to the exhibits or the buildings or the barns. But along with the financial support that we receive from the county, we receive about $6,000 in monies from the state for premiums. And the rest of our income is basically generated from parking fees, special event gate receipts, commercial and food vendor fees, along with our winter storage rates and the rodeo profits. To increase our bottom line, we're going to be making a slight increase for campers at the fair, and winter storage rates have already been addressed and been changed. We're also looking at changing some of our food vendor fees to make it more equitable for all the vendors. In addition, one of the main goals for us this year is to develop a sponsorship program and reach out to businesses and individuals who would like to support the fair monetarily on various levels. Over the years, we have had some goals for needed improvements and enhancement to the fair, and little by little we are accomplishing some of our long-range projections. In 2014, we did purchase a Kubota tractor that had a loader, a bucket, and forks that's going to help immensely with grounds maintenance and moving things around. We made some roof and structural repairs to some of the buildings. And a huge accomplishment was the construction of a 150 by 200 foot pad that is going to be used for the future site of new horse facilities, which could be 3 to 5 years down the road. Our current goals, we would like to purchase a 13-foot mower that can be pulled behind our tractor for more efficient ground maintenance. We would like to install more energy efficient lighting, and I think by working with the Focus on Energy program, we might be able to accomplish some of those goals. We need to further improve water drainage around some of the buildings by installing more culverts and some more landscaping to get that water to run away from the buildings. And of course, our goal always is to make the St. Croix County Fair the best in the state. So on behalf of the entire Fair Board, I would like to thank you for your continued support for this great community event that we call the St. Croix County Fair. What you help provide is an opportunity for all the youth and people of all ages in our county to showcase their talents and accomplishments and to be recognized for a job well done. And finally, no matter where the fair is in the race between the lettuce and the tomato, you can be sure that in the end, it'll be a great salad with ingredients for everyone to enjoy. So thank you, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions for Gail? Thank you, Gail.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. This time we have the extension annual report. Could we take a break?
We really would like to get the students back to class, so if we could just have the
Okay,
4-H
sure.
portion done first, and then I'll give the rest of the report.
Okay.
Okay. The reason, well, we do this annually. It's National 4-H Week, and so we usually have 4-H members come to the county board meeting and talk about their experiences, and we also have cake and ice cream, and I hope the ice cream hasn't melted. But this year, it's really significant because it's the 100th anniversary of 4-H. Last year was the 100th anniversary of Extension, and this year's the 100th anniversary of 4-H. So I'd like to turn the podium over to Eileen Van Dyke, who is our program advisor. Thank goodness we have her, because she was a backfill position for Marie Witzel, who went to Dodge County, which we're not real happy about. But So Eileen was here backfilling for her liaison job, and so we were able to keep Eileen, to keep the wheels on the bus until we get a new 4-H educator hired. So I'll turn it over to Eileen.
Thanks, Joanne. I'm going to save part of my report for later too, but I really would like you to meet a couple of our outstanding 4-H members. One of our big emphasis in 4-H in this county is education. And these two students are going to talk to you about a wonderful education experience that they had. So Noah and Andrew, if you would come forward and tell us about your experience, please.
Well, I guess I'll go first. All right. Sorry to hold you guys from snack. I don't know. All right. My name's Noah Simpson. I live in New Richmond. I am 16 years old and currently a junior in school. I participate in 4-H to the Dryer and Go-Getters Club stationed in Aaron Prairie. I've been a member of 4-H for the past 4 years and served as vice president for our club this previous year. These past few years of participating in 4-H have been a very positive experience for me. I've enjoyed making new friendships, helping with community service projects, and discovering some new personal talents through exploring some ideas for projects for the fair. These past 2 years, I picked up hobbies of leatherworking and some chainsaw carving now and then, but it's a very important role I think it will play in my lifetime. All right, enough about me, and I'll talk about what I was here to talk about, the 4-H Youth Conference in Madison. What is it, you may ask, and I'd hope you'd ask? It is an opportunity for selected delegates in grades 7th through 12th grade to attend a 4-day conference and choose from a variety of workshops that may be of interest to them. Youth get to participate in these educational and fun seminars, as well as have an opportunity to tour the state capitol and sightsee around State Street and the UW-Madison campus. But there is a selection process to become a delegate to the conference, or for the conference. Now, to get chosen as a delegate was not easy. First, you had to write a letter to your club leader and explain why you would be a good choice to go. Then, if your leader gave it the okay, and hopefully she did, you had to go give a speech in front of the 4-H board over in Baldwin and answer a few questions. And that would be the final step in the selection process. So Andrew, my younger brother, and me and another 4-Her from our club got accepted. So when we arrived in Madison Monday afternoon, you got to pick one of 3 tours offered. I ended up picking the state tour. I mean, out of all of them, why not pick that one? So it was very interesting knowing the history about our capital and what it's gone through in its lifetime and what it's taken to remain standing and all fun stuff about the capital. So on Tuesday, the 2 sessions I attended were websites for groups and clubs. In this workshop, they teach you how to build a WordPress website for your club and how to use it and what to do with it and how you can get your club up and on and running and on top of that. Then that afternoon, I attended another session called Exploring Creative Uses for Technology and Virtual Reality. This session was more hands-on. You got to have a little bit more fun with the equipment, such as the skiing simulator and the interact with the skiing simulator and the video game goggles that dropped you right into a digital life-size house that you could walk around and interact in, along with how it all worked and what it might be good use for. On Wednesday then, I attended a workshop titled Forensics and Chemistry, a scientific whodunit. In this session, we learned about forensics techniques and performed experiments to scientifically prove who committed a crime. So basically, they split us up into groups, and they had a whole bunch of tables and a couple researchers and people from that department were there, and they'd take you around the entire tables, and you'd each have a clue at each station. You'd figure out more and more as you go along who did it, and to decipher which suspect it'd be narrowed down to out of, I think, 5. In the afternoon then was finally some outdoor fun. I mean, might want to get out after a day and a half of being inside classes? So I signed up for windsurfing. You know, you'd think it'd be a good thing to wrap up the week. Unfortunately, Mother Nature decided it wasn't, so we didn't end up going. We didn't want to be struck by lightning on the lake. So that was kind of a bummer, but still on Thursday morning, they had the youth leaderships conduct up a rap session, and it's about the 100th year anniversary of 4-H and how it's come up to this point and what it's taken to get there. And I am very glad I went on this trip and was chosen to go on this trip, and the board chose me to go on this trip, and I would highly recommend it to anyone else who might want to go on it. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Andrew Simpson. I am 13 years old, in 8th grade, and I live in Richmond. I'm currently a member of the Driver and Go-Getters 4-H Club, which is located in the Erin Prairie Township. During the week of June 23rd, the youth from all around Wisconsin participated in the Wisconsin 4-H Youth Conference at the UW-Madison campus. Youth were involved in educational and community service seminars that featured performance and leadership skills. Conference attendees watched the drama company perform at the assembly on Tuesday night and the showcase singers on Wednesday night, and visited the art exhibit during our free time. A state youth conference is where participants take part in educational seminars and assemblies and meet people from across their state. They are encouraged to take what they learn and share it with others in their home community. Some of the things I learned while I was in Madison were websites for groups and clubs, which is basically a WordPress that teaches you how to create a website for your 4-H club and whatnot. And then another thing I learned while I was in Madison was high-tech treasure hunting with the GPS, which teaches you about geocaching and GPSs. One of my favorite, because another cool teaching moment would probably be forensics and chemistry. This is probably one of my favorite because they also had you solve a chemical spill mystery, which involved you analyzing water samples, fingerprints, and blood found at the scene. Unfortunately, my windsurfing seminar was canceled due to bad weather. Hey, what can you do? It was a positive experience overall that taught me a lot and to help me build new friendships and made me want to explore new opportunities that 4-H had to offer. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing that experience with us.
Yeah, I just want to, on behalf of the staff, also thank them. If you want to go ahead and have a break, then we'll come back and do the whole rest of it.
If that's all right with you.
Okay,
Well,
that's just fine. Thank you.
We'll take a probably 10-minute recess, be back at 11:45. That's okay.
Okay, all right. Roy has to leave at 10:30.
That's why I'm trying to get him back to going here. I did. Supervisor, going back into open session here, our recess is over, and we're going to have the extension continue on. We had our cake and ice cream for the 4-H, which was real nice, so break is over. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Larson and County Board. I'm going to follow the directions and have a very brief report. So, as you know, looking at our report, our mission is to teach, learn, lead, and serve, and connect people with the University of Wisconsin and engage them in transforming their lives and communities. It works both ways. We come out with research, and we also report back to the university the needs that we see of St. Croix County residents. I hope as you reviewed our report, you saw that we have a lot of programs that we've been doing for 100 years. And we have a lot of programs that we've been doing for 6 months. We really try to meet the needs of the community, and so that's why our programs are ever changing. People always say we never really know what extension does. And I will take responsibility. We don't always communicate really well what extension does. But it's also hard to communicate because we're constantly changing. If you look at agriculture and natural resources, you saw that there were a lot of traditional things that Ryan's Dairy and I'll get to Heidi, do. But it isn't a matter of just going and doing one farm visit. Now it's much more comprehensive with site assessments. Ryan was trained by the vet school to actually work with local farmers and help consult with them and help strengthen their farm. Heidi Doring, who is our horticulturist, who was hired a year ago in July, hit the ground running. We have not been able to keep up with her, I think. She is really working with commercial growers, really trying to strengthen not only the product that they produce, but also their business. And she will be working with Eric Belton and our new Community Resource Development Agent to do that. She also is really good at finding the laws that apply to the growers, and she and I are trying to sort out things like the pickle bill and some of those other kinds of laws that affect sales, not only here in St. Croix County, but across the river. In family living, that's probably, I would say the program area that I'm involved in is probably the most vague. Because in the past, I was used to work with home and community education, which I still do. Some of you might remember it being called Extension Homemakers. But I also work with all kinds of different residents. I work in the jail, I work with drug court, I do one-on-one financial coaching. I'm a statewide trainer for financial coaching. And most recently, we've really been working with college students because we want to prevent problems. It's great working in the jail and with drug court, but I'd rather be preventing the financial problems that some of the students may face, especially when student loan debt has now surpassed credit card debt as the nation's problem. We also, as you know, hired a community natural resource development agent this year, who started in June. That's Eric Beltonen. He has described in his report specifically what he wants to be working on. I should also mention that you pay 40% of his and the rest of the staff's salary and fringes, and the university picks up the remaining 60%. And you also provide us office space, which you're well aware of, and we appreciate that. We also have what's called the Wisconsin Nutrition Education Program, which is not funded by the county, but funded with a $67,000 federal grant. And we have the equivalent of one FTE that provides nutrition education for low-income families, including teaching people how to cook. We all think everybody knows how. The reality is a whole lot of people don't know how. And so we're trying to help them learn that so they can feed their family more nutritiously. And then to finish, I just want to turn it over back to Eileen, who has really been in charge of the 4-H program more recently. She has some other things to add. But again, in 4-H, we don't just do like the fair and things like that. We also do a lot of outreach with what we call science, technology, engineering, and math programs throughout the county. So we reach a lot of youth that aren't necessarily part of 4-H too. So, Eileen?
Thank you, Joanne, and thank you for allowing our youth to speak earlier so that they could get back into the classroom today. I wanted to talk a little bit about 4-H and about celebrating 100 years of 4-H. And I want you to know that 4-H is the largest youth organization in the nation. And the question might be, why 4-H? And I think there are probably 3 things that I identify with that help me think about 4-H. And the first one is our emphasis on education, and especially on teaching skills. And we do that in many areas in 4-H. We do it through our projects. Each child selects 1 or more projects which they study. We do it through project meetings at the club level and also at the county level. We do events like Clover College, which are designed to bring kids to a school 1 or 2 days during the year, and we have multiple activities for them to try. We also do day camps during the summer, and our day camps this year have been throughout the county, as well as we've done some workshops through some of the county libraries this summer. So those are some of the county activities that we've done. In addition, we have a number of state activities, and Andrew and Noah talked about one state activity. There are many others for kids to participate in the state level. There are art camps, there are drama camps, there are recreation camps, and showcase singers, which are all part of the state, besides many other activities they can participate there. And then the next step is the national level, and we have a number of kids who participate in national trips and awards and experiences. So we have a number of kids who have gone this summer, and we will have some more participating in trips this fall on the national level. And then we also have the international experiences we have for kids where they can live with a family abroad for a period of time. So the program is very broad in the kinds of skills that we are teaching and the opportunities that we offer. Joanne mentioned STEM, and STEM is an acronym, as she said, for science, technology, engineering, and math. And I was hoping that I might be able to find an alumni today to talk to you a little bit about that, but it is amazing how many youth we have who were former 4-H members who are now in those fields. And I'm just thinking in terms of some of the kids that I saw or had as 4-H members in the club where I was an organizational leader a few years ago. And within that club and within a couple of other kids I know, we have kids who are in medicine, who are doctors, who are veterinarians, who are teachers and educators. We have former 4-H members who are doing research in biotechnology at a couple of universities throughout the nation. We have kids who work in genetics. And we also have a kid who is in my 4-H club who is a nuclear engineer working at the Department of Energy in Washington. I was hoping maybe I could get him to Skype today, but their security is way too strict. They won't allow that to happen. But just to show you the emphasis that we have placed on STEM, and this is part of the change that 4-H embraces. We want to keep abreast with the times and the changes and the needs that our society has. So the skills with working with animals and family living are still extremely important, but we also emphasize the science, technology, engineering, and math skills as well. It might also be interesting to note that one of our outstanding 4-H graduates this year is going into electrical engineering. So that has been his main emphasis through 4-H. The other thing I think 4-H brings to the table is the commitment to community service. And we have always been leaders in emphasizing community service. Our kids do many community service activities within your local communities, whether it's working at the food shelf or packing meals or helping at various community events. They've always been very active in lots of community activities throughout the county. So with that, I hope that's given you a little bit better understanding of what 4-H is doing and the kinds of activities we're participating in this county. Thank you.
Thank you, and we want to thank the 4-H for their 100 years and their cake and ice cream they served us today, and a big appreciation for everything you do down at Extension, so thank you. Now we'll move on to our next order of business. We have a resolution approving memorandum for understanding a Radio Road trunk, County Trunk Highway M and Man Lane all in St. Croix County, and we're looking for a motion. Motion from Supervisor Peasy, second from Supervisor Osnes. So, and we're not ready.
I think I downloaded that one.
You second it? There. Now it's open for discussion. You want Supervisor Peavy?
A short explanation. This memorandum, excuse me, this memorandum of understanding between the county, the town of Troy, and the city of River Falls lays the foundation to obtain the required approval and assistance from the Wisconsin DOT for various jurisdictional transfers of roadways and much-needed roadway upgrades in the area. Like the upcoming opening of the Stillwater Crossing, the recent opening of State Highway Trunk 35 interchange at Radio Road will draw significant more traffic to the various local roads in the area. The St. Croix County Transportation Committee, Town of Troy, and the City of River Falls have been working to facilitate a plan that will improve roadways as necessary to support the additional traffic and consider various changes in jurisdictional responsibility that will better serve the public interest of the state, region, county, town, and city. In an effort to provide the least financial burdensome impact on the local taxpayer, the county portion of the plan modifies the Highway Department's 5-year construction plan by reprioritizing projects. This allows for the total levy dollar amount requested in the Highway Department's construction budget to remain as planned, which really reflects a construction levy that was less than the 2012 budget. This also eliminates the need to look at bonding or other funding resources of the county to fund these projects. Now that both the City of River Falls and the Town of Troy have approved the memorandum of understanding, the Transportation Committee is comfortable with bringing it to the County Board for your approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No questions? No questions, we're ready to vote then. And it was approved unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to our next resolution, which is number 3 on our list. Resolution approving alteration of supervisor district boundaries resulting from an annexation to the city of Hudson. And do I have a motion? Supervisor Schottner. Do I have a second to that? Supervisor Schoberg. And now is there any input on that from your committee, or?
These are, no, my mic's on. These are basically because of alterations that were done to the boundary lines. They would require, for this one and the next one, it would require either the creation of a new ward or just alteration of the boundary lines themselves. So this is a lot smoother process instead of creating an entirely new ward for either no one or one person.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Any other questions? If there are no other questions or discussion, it's been motion seconded, we'll vote. Passed unanimously. Thank you. Now we'll move on to the next resolution, which is resolution approving the alteration of supervisor district boundaries resulting from an annexation to the village of Somerset. Do I have a motion? Motion from Supervisor Schottner, second from Supervisor Babbitt. Is there any discussion, or say the same thing, Travis? Okay. Any discussion? No questions or discussion?
Yes, second.
We're ready to vote then? No. We're not? Okay. And this passed unanimously too. Thank you. We're done. Down to the resolution on county governance options. Do I have a motion to,
It's already on the floor, Mr. Chair.
okay.
It's postponed.
Mr. Chairman, I move to postpone this resolution indefinitely.
Okay. Yeah. Motion and a second to postpone indefinitely. Do I have any, it's open for discussion then. Any discussion? No discussion? If there's no discussion, it's been motion made and seconded to postpone indefinitely. We can vote on that now. Two no, the rest yes. So pass. It's be postponed indefinitely. County clerk's report, you have something?
I have no rezonings to report, and the correspondence that I received, I had emailed out to you earlier. And other than that, I have nothing else to report.
Okay. Thank you. Announcements, anybody have Supervisor Ring?
I have two announcements. One is the Community Development Committee is meeting here after the meeting, so we will meet in the lobby, and we are going to be touring potential park sites related to the mitigation money for park sites to select. So we're doing that this afternoon. We will meet by 12:30 in the lobby, and then we'll be taking a bus. We will stop to get something to eat along the way. The second thing is we have an invitation from the St. Croix County Bicycle and Pedestrian Coalition. There is a meeting, so it's on your place. They're inviting the public to a meeting on, the speaker that is on the agenda is a planner from Waukesha County who has gone through a county-wide bike and pedestrian planning project. They've also gone the next step, and this year they got a $2.5 million construction grant for a project. So there is a speaker that is at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, Town of Somerset Town Hall. So just wanted to invite any county board members that would be interested.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any other announcements? Yes, sir. Supervisor Schobel.
People have been coming forward to me suggesting changes to the bylaws, and what I'd just like to do is make a statement that the administration committee is going to be looking at the bylaw review as early as December. I don't know if we're going to be forming a subcommittee for that. I would assume that would take place. But in the interim, if you have ideas on the bylaws changes, you might remember that back in April, the rules and bylaws as then proposed for revisions were before us, and that was all postponed. So now it's time, now that the handbook's been put into effect, now it's time to go back and talk about the managerial changes, administrative changes that the rules and bylaws would be important to put into place. So I know that Ms. Campbell has some ideas on that. If any of you go online and come up with an ideal set of bylaws from another county and want to throw that our way, please do so. So you could probably send what would be a good way to gather this information. We could send it to Mr. Cox in care of Spain. So to your you can send it to me, yes. Okay. It'll come your way.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any other announcements? Supervisor Brick? No? No other announcements? Anything else? Well, if there's nothing else, thank you, everyone, and the meeting is adjourned.